Today we have with us the President of the Asia Pacific and Japan region at Dell EMC, Mr. Amit Midha. Mr. Midha, thank you so much for joining us on Bloomberg Quint. I'd like to start by asking you, Mr. Midha, now this is one of the biggest tech mergers ever, $67 billion. What does the Dell EMC merger mean for India and the rest of the world?
Great. Well, you can call me Amit. Well, thanks for your question. We are very excited about what this new entity represents for our customers across the world, as well as India as a country. We as a society are changing dramatically with technology. It's a fact, but let me give you a couple of interesting facts to support that claim. Today, cost of making something smart is becoming zero or nearly zero. So making any device Wi-Fi enabled is fast approaching less than $1, a few cents. Now when a device can talk to other devices, i.e. it's a smart device, what do? They create a lot of data, and that leads to opportunity to personalize the experience a consumer is having with that device. Now consider this, today we have about 8 billion of these devices, and we're headed to 200 billion of these devices in next decade. And that's what is the fundamental opportunity. When everything around us becomes so smart, that is a different technological challenge than what we have been dealing with. And you need a different type of company to help customer deal with those challenges than the previous companies. And that's why we brought these two companies together. Interestingly enough, technology is also going 10x more powerful every 5 years, which means now you actually can really have the capability to deal with the new kind of challenges that the digital era may represent. Now, as we think about bringing these two companies together, it's a $74 billion company in revenue. It's 140,000 team members across the world. We'll be in 180 countries. We'll be unique set of unique members of families that can help customer take care of edge, core, and the cloud. We will also be able to help customer do digital transformation, workforce transformation, security transformation. So we believe we'll be a great partner of our customers around the world. But the two things will define us very, very clearly. One, innovation. We spend $4.5 billion a year in R&D. That's more than 2x of our nearest competitor in this space. So you can see our innovation engine from patent perspective will be the highest, our R&D expenditure will be the highest, and we will be able to innovate for the new challenges, as I mentioned before, for the digital era. So that would be the first thing will define us. Second is customer. Customer has been the focus for both Dell, legacy Dell, as well as legacy EMC, and in the new company, customer will continue to be the center point for everything we do. So from that perspective, we believe this company will have the innovation engine, will have the customer solution framework, and will have the financial wherewithal to take on the new challenges and create the innovation for the future. So I'll stop here before I answer your India questions.
No, and also another thing, so when we're talking about India, Amit, post the merger, and this has been a concern in India as well, Dell and EMC have had large workforces in the region, and post this merger, the concern is that there'd be job cuts. Is that a legitimate concern, and could you placate that for us?
So let's come back to my previous point. If you think about this as a framework where we believe in next decade, there's an unprecedented opportunity for us. And now we are a private company, we think differently. We don't think about a quarter, we don't think about a year, we think in decades, right? We think about years and decades. So we believe this merger was done primarily for revenue synergies. What Dell has, EMC didn't have, and what EMC had, Dell didn't have. The overlap is minimal. Minimal means in single digits, basically, in terms of the product and or customer. So we believe this is all about building revenue synergies, help customers do more, and take on the new challenges like digital transformation. So So if it is about revenue synergy, we're continuing to invest and grow. We're still hiring across the region, including India, and that will be the case. But then there will be also areas of overlap. Any customer who goes through transformation has to look at the overlap as well as invest. And I think we'll continue to rationalize it, but we don't expect our gross headcount piece in any shape or form significantly change from where we are. It will only grow over time in future.
Now Dell EMC and Dell essentially, ever since it got delisted, being a privately controlled company. How has that changed things really in terms of making business decisions?
So it's quite interesting because I have been with Dell for a long time, and I can tell you when we went private, we saw significant positive outcome from a culture perspective as well as the results perspective. So from a clock speed perspective, it becomes your strategic decisions becomes longer term and your customer facing decisions become faster. Let me try to explain. So if we think this opportunity is a big bet we need to make on for next 5 years, 10 years, we can do that now, which is what we could in Dell EMC perspective as well. We increased our R&D budget significantly. We hire 3,000 sales makers across the world, even though everybody else was claiming to be reducing their headcount. So you could see we were contrarian. At the same time, you reduce the internal meetings. You reduce a lot of things that take time away, executives' time away from the customer, from the business. So your actually speed increases to take care of what is really helping your business today. So you go faster some places and you go slower some places. Your strategic decisions becomes much longer term and your customer focus becomes much faster.
Perhaps that also leads to more innovation.
There you go. This is the point. So what we saw as a result of this change in the clock speed was that customer gave us the feedback that hey, this is a new company. I see a lot more value coming from you as an R&D. I see a lot more faster response coming from you as a company, and I like this new Dell that was becoming. So innovation was there, customer focus was there, and I think that's what defined our success financially that everyone has seen over the last few years. This is 14th quarter straight where our PC share has actually grown on a global basis, and we became number 1 in server units globally last quarter. So you can see significant upticks in our momentum in the businesses that legacy Dell had. And so I feel that sort of same thing we can do here as well, which is how do we be strategic about our innovation and R&D, and how do we increase our focus on the customer? I think that will define the focus going forward and will be more successful. What you also see is there's also an opportunity to synergize. There's both sides of assets. They're best-in-class companies. How do we bring it together? And some of the examples I'll give you for innovation is big data is everyone is looking at.
Absolutely.
So SAS Analytics, we had Dell Server 730, and we had a flash-based DSSD, which is the storage from EMC side. We put it together, engineered the solution in our labs. Now we have a 5x better solution on analytics than anybody else in the marketplace. So those are examples of us synergizing and moving forward.
So that does lead to improved products and services.
That's exactly
it's more holistic offering really.
Right, and you have a Dell EMC, and then you can extend to VMware as well. You have a now hyper-converged infrastructure which leverages Dell, EMC, and VMware products, all embedded. It's called all ready to go. So that's the kind of sort of things you will see in VxRail, VxRack, and vBlock. So those are the things you will continue to see from the new entity.
Especially in terms of India and other emerging markets in the region, what are your thoughts in terms of convincing businesses and clients really to adopt cloud-based services, especially after this Dell EMC merger? Because data storage, the way it is perceived and looked at traditionally is one thing, adopting cloud-based services is another, and there's also this hybrid model. What have you seen from your experience really that's really gaining traction?
So customers clearly are saying the new challenges require new investments. So if I have to serve my customers digitally, I need to create capability. If I have to market digitally, I need to invest money in that. But overall, it's not that the IT budgets are growing to take care of this, which means you have to find sources of efficiency. And some sources of efficiency could come from looking at your excess capacity that exists in the data center. And so there are architectures, the cloud architecture can help you reduce your investment in that, as well as investment in the or the expenses towards the administration of the data center. So if you can modernize and automate and transform using the next gen technologies that Dell Technologies is providing, you can find sources of efficiencies to invest in the digital space. So we also see a very clear framework. Some customers will have a private cloud architecture be the best thing for them. Some customer will be public, and some customers and some application may be totally cloud native. So this is where we have to find the right solution for the customer. But at the end of the day, we have to help customers find efficiency to be able to invest in the digital technologies so their business can thrive and succeed in the future. Talking about that disruption, Washington Olin School of Business did a study saying in next 10 years, 40% of the large businesses may cease to exist. Either they may not be able to turn the corner as they need to, or they may get bought out or sold. We also did a survey in terms of digital transformation index here in Asia, and what we found is that 83% of the customers told us that the startups are a big source of disruption for their existing business, and 52% said that they don't believe they can avoid the obsolescence. So that's a lot of disruption coming for the customers as well. And so hybrid cloud is a technology, but the bigger issue is, do we have business model? Are we automating process? Do we have a culture of innovation? Do we have the talent to create a not only the business model but the new business? And it's easier said than done. And above all, cybersecurity is an issue that is also quickly becoming a top of the list. When cybersecurity incidences happen, it's not the CIOs only that lose the job, it's the CEOs also losing the job now.
In terms of startups being disruptors, and also what's happening in India, really, it's a booming e-commerce startup space. We're seeing Startup India being an initiative by the Prime Minister. We're seeing Digital India, and also Dell recently came out with a survey on India being one of the most digitally mature countries out there. In terms of all of this ecosystem building up, Aadhaar, Startup India, Digital India, and all the various schemes being launched and this booming space, how digitally mature do you really think India is for these schemes to be successful and for them to become ubiquitous?
Yeah, well, I think I personally believe Digital India represents $1 trillion opportunity for technology sector, and that includes us. So we're very excited by that opportunity. And if you think about the startup space, typically 10% of the companies will become unicorn or very successful, and 30% will definitely fail. So this is a constant cycle of innovation, and it will continue. And I think it's very good to see that in India the startups are being supported, because if they get the right support, they can transform the society. They can create sources of efficiency, they can create transparency in the government, they can have social causes where entrepreneurship can be supported. We at Dell Technologies strongly believe in entrepreneurship. We believe the jobs can only be created by SMEs and through the innovative SMEs and startups. Now, how mature is in India? Listen, it depends on the sector. If I look at the IT services space, it's quite mature. If you look at the semiconductor space, it's not mature. If you look at the software side, it is world-class work is getting done here. Now, whether it is for Indian company or for the global company, but the capabilities exist. So I believe in many ways India can create a great platform for the future to not only create more innovation, but to transform the society.
Well, also, Amit, I asked you that because you're from India and you spend a fair amount of your time in China as well. And there's always this talk about, India playing catch up with China and China slowing down. But with these schemes, and when you guys say it's really digitally mature, it's always interesting to get your thoughts on how long do you think it will take for us to catch up, or how far behind are we when it comes to the tech space?
Yeah, listen, I think for us, on behalf of company, I will tell you, for us, it's India and China. It's not India or China. China is a great business for us. We rely on China for many things, including manufacturing and supply chain. Same thing in India, but in India we do a lot more work for services, software, R&D as well. So we would like to see both economies do really well. In terms of the maturity of the mobile platform and e-commerce, China is now number one. It's multi-fold of US, and so India is a fraction of US. So I would say there is on the e-commerce space and the mobile platform, I think there is a large gap. In terms of the software side, India is leading in many ways, and the work that is getting done in India is world class. So I would say again depends on the sector, and I think that we can't win. We as a society in any country cannot win in all aspects. You have to pick and choose where you bet, you invest, you develop, and then over time you can be successful.
India is one of the fastest growing markets for Dell internationally. So where does this Dell EMC merger leave us in India? How strategically significant is it, and what does it mean for the Indian customer?
Yeah, listen, India for us, as I mentioned, is important not only as a market, but also a source of innovation, as a platform for us to serve our customers globally. And we are heavily invested as a new entity. We have Center of Excellence, we have R&D labs, we have manufacturing, we have our large employee base here. So we feel that India plays a pretty important role, and after our merger, or even before our merger was completed, first Asia trip Michael made was to Bangalore, and that kind of shows the importance of India in our future. So we continue to be very positive. We look forward to investing more, not only from a market growth perspective as a market, but also using India's capability and talent for our global innovation.
Thanks so much, Amit, for joining us on Bloomberg Quint. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you very much.